Aloha Yellow 6 students. Due to SBA testing for students who did not complete their SBA, we'll be working on cutting the papers for economics, social studies interactive notebook. So you will receive a packet such as this. What you're going to do is you are going to cut around each of the squares on each page. Okay, so cut around each of the squares on each of the page. Now in cutting around the squares, even with this, cut all around. On some of these pages, you'll notice that there's an X. Okay, and if you see an X, that only means you are going to glue that on the bottom of your page. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do is to cut out each of the squares, around the squares for each of these pages. Okay, once you complete cutting it, I will then proceed to tell you how you're going to glue it into your social studies composition book. So you can stop this videotape at any time when you need to go ahead and glue in. Okay, so the first thing you're going to glue in is the title economics. On the bottom of this title is the definition of economics. Okay, so it should say a science that involves making, selling, and buying goods and services. Okay, so that's the first thing you're going to glue in is economics. On the next page, you're then going to proceed and you're going to glue in the needs and wants. Needs and wants. Now, that is your title. So, underneath needs and wants are the definition of needs. Something you can't live without, something we must have to live. And for wants, something you would like to have, it is not necessary to survive. Okay, so that's your needs and wants. Now, on the next page, I am going to have my examples of the needs and examples of wants. So starting with the examples of needs. Okay, you're gluing the bottom portion and the top flaps will just fold in where it has those little dotted dashes. So what you could write for examples of needs are the following. Food is a need. Clothing, shelter, air, electricity. These are all examples of needs. Okay, and again, a need is something you can't live without, something that you must have to live with, right? Like we need food in order to live, we need air to breathe in, clothing to keep us warm, shelter to live in, and electricity. So these are great examples of needs. Now, examples of wants. And remember, wants are something you would like to have, but it's not necessary for you to have it to survive. You just like to have it. So examples of wants, like designer clothes. A lot of people, we like designer clothes, so that's a want. Video games, magazines, computer, four-wheeler, or say cars, fancy cars. Okay, those are all examples of wants. Okay. Now remember, at any time, if you're still writing and you need to stop the video, feel free to stop the video. Okay, the next thing you're going to be gluing in are service and goods. Goods on the top, service on the bottom. Okay, so goods and service. goods and service. Now, what is a definition of goods? Definition of goods are things that people make or use to satisfy their needs and wants. Okay, things that people make or use to satisfy their needs and wants. Okay, example of service or definition of service is activities that satisfy people's needs and wants. Okay, activities that satisfy people's needs and wants. Now, after you have the definition that's underneath and you glue the heading above it, right? So it looks like this where you can open your flap. You're now going to glue in the two examples. One is for goods, examples of goods. And the examples of goods are as follows. And you can write this on your flap. Examples of goods are food, clothing, books, furniture, toys. Okay, these are just a few examples of goods. Again, food, clothing, books, furniture, toys. Okay, then examples of services. And remember, services are activities that satisfies people's needs and wants. So here's examples of services. We have haircut. We have doctor's checkup, mail delivery, car repairs, teaching. Okay, again, haircut, doctor checkup or dentist checkup, mail delivery, car repairs, teaching. These are examples of services. Also, car wash is a service. Getting your nails, manicure or pedicure, that's a service. Okay. Now, on the very next page, we are now going to glue in trade and barter. Trade and barter. Okay, so that's your heading. Make sure you put the definition on the bottom. So the definition for trade or barter, you cut it out. You'll see that the definition is the exchange of goods and service for money. The exchange of goods and service for money. That's trade. Okay, whereas barter is to trade items or service for other items without money. So if, for example, I ask Ezra, I'd like to barter and trade my tuna sandwich for your egg salad sandwich. Okay, that's bartering, trading my tuna for his egg. Okay, so trade and barter with the definitions underneath. Okay, then on the following page, we are now going to glue in producer and consumer. Okay, so on the top is producer and consumer. On the bottom, we're going to have examples of producer, examples of consumer. Now, under the heading of producer and consumer is people who use resources to make goods and provide services. People who buy and use goods and services. Okay, so that's the definition. That should be under the heading. Okay. Then when you give me examples of producers and example of consumer, the definition for the examples are, okay, a farmer is a producer. That's an example because they grow fruits and vegetables. And then example of a consumer is anyone who buys something is a consumer. So you're a consumer because you buy things. As long as you buy something, you are considered a consumer. Okay, the next page that you're going to glue in is going to focus on scarcity. Scarcity. So the definition of scarcity is when something is in short supply. Okay, so when something is in short supply. Okay, on the following page, you're going to glue down economic choice and opportunity cost. Economic choice and opportunity cost. And what is economic choice? Economic choice is a choice or decision among alternatives or possibilities. Choice or decision among alternatives or possibilities. Okay, now opportunity cost is the next best choice that is given up when a decision is made. The next best choice that is given up when a decision is made. Okay? So again, you have the terminology and the definition that's on the bottom. Okay, the following page is going to cover human resource, natural resource, and capital resource. Now, for the human resource, okay, definition of human resource is people working to produce goods and services. Okay, people working to produce goods and services. That's human resource. For a natural resource, it's materials that come from nature. Materials that come from nature. Okay. Now, for capital resource, that is goods made by people used to make goods and services. Okay, so these are your definitions for human resource, nature resource, and capital resource. Okay, so you're gluing this down with the definitions on the bottom. Okay, then I'm going to have my 3 flaps that's going to give examples of a human resource, natural resource, and capital resource. So let's take a look first of all at examples of our human resource. So examples of human resource, right? And again, when I talk about human resource, I am talking about people working to provide goods and service. So examples of human resource would be a factory worker, a teacher, a police officer, a chef, a nurse. Okay, 5 different examples. You can write it on your flap. Again, a faculty worker, teacher, police officer, chef, and a nurse. Okay, these are all examples of a human resource. Now, examples of nature resource. A nature resource are materials that come from nature. So examples of nature resource would be water, soil, fruit, coal, and wood. Okay, again, water, soil, coal, fruit, and wood. Okay, these are examples of nature resources. Okay, and the last example I want to show you is capital resources. Capital resources are goods made by people used to make goods and service. Okay, so examples of capital resource is a factory, hammer, computer, scissors, sewing machine. Okay, these are all examples. Again, factory, hammer, computer, scissors, sewing machine. Okay. The next page that I am going to show you to have you glue in is resources used at a lemonade stand. Okay, resources used at a lemonade stand. Now, looking at the 3 resources, when you are creating a lemonade stand, what are the human resources you need? Well, you need someone to run the stand, right? So you'll need an adult, or you'll need children. Okay, so that's what you'll write under your flap. Children or adults. Okay, the next thing I'll need is my natural resources. So what are some of the things I'll need to make the lemonade? And I will need lemons, water, ice, and sugar. Okay, lemon, water, ice, and sugar. Okay, and the last but not least are what are the capital resources, things that I need in order to make my lemonade. I'll need a pitcher, I need spoons, I need a table to make it on, and then I'll need cups to pour the lemonade in and sell it. Okay, so these are examples of my capital resources. Okay, so capital resources again is pitchers, spoons, table, and cups. Okay, the next and last that I'm going to glue in is specialization and interdependence. Okay, specialization and interdependence. Now, what are the difference? The definition of specialization is when someone focuses on one product or service. That's the definition for specialization. When someone focuses on one product or service. For interdependence, it's when 2 or more people depending on each other for goods and services. Okay, so that's your definition for specialization and interdependence. Now, as I mentioned before, after you cut out all of your cutouts for this social studies economics packet, then put it in order. So as you watch this video, stop as you go ahead and glue one at a time. Okay, so again, we start with economics first. Then it's going to be needs and wants with the definition underneath. Then it's going to be examples of needs and examples of wants. Okay. Then it goes on to the next page, which is goods and services. And then examples of goods, examples of services. Then it's going to go on to trade, barter. Then producers, consumers, and examples of producers, examples of consumers. Then it goes on to scarcity. Then economic choice and opportunity costs. Then human, natural, capital resource. And then examples of human, natural, capital resources. Then resource use at a lemonade stand. And then specialization and interdependence. Okay, so that's the order that you will be gluing it in your social studies interactive book. Okay, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to see your social studies teacher at office hours. Thank you.